Ladies and gentlemen, good morning from Ireland, good evening from Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're well. By this point, AI is not really the big mystery it was after these 3 weeks. The bigger question now is this: how do you use AI well without losing your voice, your judgment, and the things that make people trust in you in the first place? Because in a world full of automated content, fast output, more synthetic communication, what makes you you it's easy to say first thing in the morning. What makes you you matters more, not less. This is episode 3, the final part of our 3-part series, AI Noise, brought to you by the Insight Exchange and the world's global award-winning leaders in live streaming, Onestream Live. And tonight we bring it back to the most human part of the conversation. So keep it right here on the Insight Exchange. Welcome back. Hello to everybody. Yeah, you are. Welcome back to episode 3, the final part in our AI Noise series in collaboration with Onestream Live. At the end of tonight's show, or this morning's show, both this morning and this evening, I'll share the links for the 2 blog articles that we have that accompany the series. I'm Joe Shepherd here in Ireland, and I'm joined again by the great Susie Manley in Brizzy, Barbados, Australia. How are you, Susie? You're on mute.
I am on mute. Sorry, guys. I wish you had one of those buttons. Mute me. Good morning and good evening. How are you, Joe? Nice to see you, Spud. Great to have you on the show with us. Looking forward to getting into a little bit about my favorite subject tonight, AI.
Absolutely. Our special guest is indeed Spud Barrett, a UK Forces veteran turned property magnate. He'll be shaking his head at this now. No, don't be saying that. He is a property magnate, and he does some fantastic stuff helping in the communities with the housing situation. And now developing a huge future plan with automated vehicles and everything else, and who is actively using AI across a range of his businesses and brings a real-world user perspective into the conversation. Great to have you with us, Spud. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
Good. Now, over the last 2 episodes, we have slowed the noise down, and then we looked at where AI can actually help. Tonight, we bring the series to what it is, for me, the most important of all, because this final episode really is not about whether AI is useful. We know it can be. It is about how to use it without losing what makes you credible, useful, and human. So your voice, I wish AI could speak for me better than my blurts, blah, blah, blah. Your judgment, your standards, your perspective, and the things that make people trust you in the first place. Because really, the real risk now is not simply that AI exists. It is that people begin to use it in ways that flatten their thinking or weaken their communication, or slowly remove the very things that make them the work worth paying for and attention in the first place. So tonight we're asking, what still matters most in an AI world? How do you use AI without becoming generic? How do you protect trust and credibility? And what becomes even more valuable as more and more content every single day becomes automated? For me, this really is where the conversation gets very real, because I don't think the future belongs to the people who simply use AI the most. I think it belongs to the people who use it wisely, with judgment, boundaries, and enough self-awareness to keep the human part intact. So I'm going to hand over to Susie and Spud to continue the conversation. We'll have them stuff in the background. But before we do, listen to this. Watch this.
Freely available AI will make you look like an expert until it gets you fired from a deal. The problem is not using AI. The problem is trusting it like it has skin in the game. It does not, but you do. I use AI every single day in property acquisitions, transaction summaries, financial projections, legal research. It cut days of work down to hours, but here is what it has never done. It has never sat across from a seller and read whether they actually want to transact. It has never convinced a lender to accept a structure after 6 months of back and forth. It has never signed a personal guarantee. AI prepares you. It does not represent you. Everything that goes out has been read by me in full every time, no exceptions. AI is the best junior I have ever worked with. It is also the most confident liar I have ever worked with. Treat it accordingly. Use the tools and raise the floor, but your standards raise the ceiling. AI changed how I work. It has not changed who has to sign at the bottom of the page.
Yeah, powerful stuff. Well
Love
done,
it.
Spud. Thanks for that. Yeah, absolutely right. Susie and Spud, across to you two. Crack on.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thanks, Joe. And yeah, look, before we do jump in, we're talking about things that are most important to us, in using AI and things like that. But I think, before we get into any of that, one of the things that is most important to us is our families. And before I start, I want to shout out to a member of my family, and that's young Coops. And Coops got his first 15s tight head jersey today, so he's a number 3 in the first 15s for Villanova. So we're very, very proud of him. He got they had an award ceremony this morning, and he was handed his very first 15s jersey, so for Villanova.
Awesome.
So yeah, so had to have that little shout out, because as I said, we're talking about things that are important to us, and a family obviously is the most important thing to many of us. So, but yeah, it's an interesting conversation. We've been talking the last couple of weeks about AI, where it falls, how to use it, how good it is, what it does, what it doesn't do. As Spud's, in that video that Spud just said, it's the greatest helper. It's also the greatest liar. We have to be able to know how to use it. We have to know how to identify it, how to get it to research and check itself and things like that. So there's a lot of things that we need to know before using AI. I think we need to train our AI. It's very, very important. But I think we have to keep in the back of our minds, and we spoke about this last week, that at the end of the day, it's your name on the truck, I think is what I said last week. The tradie, it's your name on the door, your name on the truck. And it's the same with AI. It's your name on whatever it is that you're putting out there that you may have had AI help you with. And to build trust and to build authenticity in any community, I think you have to have the final word in anything that you create with AI. So I think for me, I think that's one of the most important things in using AI, is that I'd have to, quality check everything that I put out there, whether I'm building something with it, whether I'm writing something with it, whether I'm, checking, just asking it a question, using it as Google or whatever, however you want to say it. I think it's super important that, we make sure that before we put anything out there with AI, that we do double check our work and make sure that, it's not killing our credibility. Spud, you've obviously found the same in what you do, how you work with AI.
I have, yes. I want to stay positive. AI is the future, so we've just got to adapt to using it. But it's just treat it as a team member. So it's just another member of my team. I wouldn't expect a new member of my team to suddenly write a contract, send it out to the solicitor without me checking it. So it's exactly the same as that. And I know I use the word liar. Liar is a very strong word. I think to tell a lie, you need intent. And I don't believe AI has the intent. It has an honest belief it's telling the truth. So that's the thing you need to just watch out for. It honestly believes it's helping you and it's doing good, but it's it's quite scary sometimes. As you saw in the video, it became my secret agent, and it literally turned it into like a James Bond lookalike sort of thing. So that's
I think they call it, they say that it hallucinates. Some might say that it drifts, others say it hallucinates. So it is something that I was building something the other day, and I said, can this particular platform, I'll get it to do this for me. And the other AI said, well, no, it can't do that. It doesn't have the capability to do that. And I said, well, actually it does, because I've been doing that with it for the past 2 days. So and it came back straight away and said, yes, that's my mistake. You're right. It does do that. So, you do have to check, and make sure that what it's telling you is, is correct, because, like I said, it's our credibility on the line. And I love the analogy there that you said, Spud, was, if you have someone come into your business, you can't expect them to write, whether it's a quote, whether it's a summary of something, whether it's your marketing, whatever it is. You can't expect them to do that straight up and get it right. You have to make sure that you're checking and training that person the whole time to make sure that they're, you know, what they're putting out there is true and honest.
Well, it's as a business, we've got values and standards, but we've got quality, like quality checking as well. But quality's become more valuable because of AI, not less. Judgment on deals. So I've got a, I've used AI to sort of find the deal, but then I still need to make sure it's me that's got the final judgment on that deal. Lived experience is the key one. AI's got no lived experience, so we need. I mean, 6 months negotiating. I'm just putting a deal through now. 6 months that's took of negotiating. In fact, probably 12 months of negotiations. But then it's trying to put all that information into AI for it to sense check it and put it all together. But the key one's relationships. It's more human to human conversations now, more than ever. Just as like I said, as a sense check, so that AI isn't sort of running the show.
And I think that's a really, really important point, I think, for people to keep in mind when they're, you know, when they're using AI. Because I know, you know, you jump on social media, you have a lot of people, oh, I hate AI. You can tell when it's written by AI. You can see, you can tell. And I'll sort of call a little bit of BS on a lot of that, because if you use AI correctly, you know, you can't tell when something is written by AI, and it should be part AI, part you anyway. But it's true. It's true there, you know, what you say, in the fact that, sorry, I just lost my train of thought then, because I was thinking of a post that I read yesterday. This is how my brain goes off on 10,000 tangents. Right. I was thinking about a post that I was reading yesterday, and the hate towards AI on this particular post was just unbelievable. And it was mainly from copywriters, authors, you know, people who I think are instead of embracing AI and working out how they can, you know, redirect what they do, I think they're worried that it's going to obviously, you know, take over their industry. And I've often said, you know, it's not, AI is not going to take your job. It's going to be someone using AI is going to take your job. So we need to learn how to use it properly. But yeah, so sorry, I completely lost my train of thought of what I was going to say then on the track that I was going down. Joe, you might have to help me here. You're on mute, darling.
Yeah, that's one of the things when you're working in the background and you're answering people. It's incredible, because I'm monitoring the different platforms, because obviously we go out to up to 50 different locations at once, which is absolutely superb and brilliant. And then you get them through, and then people are watching it and then sending you messages on your phone as well. So stick them up in there. That's if you've got them. I'm trying to keep up with everything, because people often say, why does Joe look around everywhere all the time? Because I've got a TV studio, and normally where you've got about 12 people, it's me, and then I've got all these platforms, and this is just brilliant what Onestream Live provide. But it does mean that you're trying to multitask, and Susie would be far better multitasking as a woman than I am.
You need to get an AI agent to help you.
Well, this is where we're all sort of developing into it, and that's what will come, and that's what once people like Onestream Live are building now, where they're building this whole automated systems that can make things, you know, you can put the whole pile of things in, and it's not cheating, it's just working smarter, not harder. It's like going from having a shovel to dig a hole into having a JCB. You remember that as a Royal Engineer Sapper. But listen, tell us that just on the back of what Susie's saying this, Bud, we chatted when we were in the studio briefly the other day, and we were talking about different analogies. So just relate those analogies for you. I mean, because we went through the whole thing about what did the spinning jennies?
The Luddites, sorry.
The Luddites, and then the red flag. All of this thing where people are scared. But the best one you came up with was when how people, what was the story about where the farriers then retrained themselves? Because I think
so Chevron's paradox. Yeah. So change is coming. So if we flip now to the autonomous vehicle, it's coming, whether you like it or not. When the motor vehicle first came, so let's go all the way back then. So the Luddites were professionally trained. They'd all done apprenticeships. They were trained weavers. But when the machines came, they started attacking the machines and breaking the machines. So the government at the time stepped in and basically, well, it hangs some. There was a guy called Ned Ludd, hence the Luddites. Some were shipped off to Australia, and well, we'll not go down that route. But they went the wrong way about it. The benefits from that is we got, in theory, the NHS, and we got workers' rights, and we got the weekends. But the positive from that is that the Industrial Revolution kicked off, and Britain was at the forefront. So actually, the machines were a good thing. The weavers at the time didn't benefit, but their generation made a lot more money than they ever would if they'd have been doing all the weaving manually. Roll on 150 years, and we introduced the motor car, but this time the government was very cautious and said, no, this isn't going to work. So what we're going to do now is you need an operator. You need someone to drive the car, and you need someone to stand in front, because the cars are just going to kill off all the horse trade and everything like that, and they're unsafe, and they're not going to work, and they're just going to destroy jobs and reputation. So the farriers were up in arms, but the clever ones, instead of bending a piece of metal into a horseshoe, just retrained and learned how to bend metal into a body part, and then they went and moved into the factories, making the cars, and earning a lot more than they would have done when they were earning just making horseshoes and fitting them to horses. So it's called the Jevons paradox, and we're about to hit that age again. So what will happen now is autonomous vehicles will come in. Cost per mile will be less than £1 a mile eventually. You speak to any kids today, my middle lad, he's rugby mad. He's at Sheffield Uni. But he's got no interest really in getting a car, because he's got his app and his Uber and his taxi apps on there, and he does spend a lot of money on it, but he's still not spending as much as my eldest lad, who's bought his own car, paying it off, paying the insurance, and then can't afford to go anywhere. But with the autonomous vehicles now, we'll have vehicles available in all communities. So now the elderly, instead of having to wait just for the bus that comes twice a day and it only goes to one location, maybe two, they can now literally go anywhere they want at very little cost. What that will do is it will then make people more mobile, and as the mobility increases, therefore they'll go to more restaurants, they'll go to more shows. Our nearest town is about 11 miles away, but we never go into town because we can't find anywhere to park. None of us we all like a drink, but we can never get a taxi home. So that will it will literally change the world. Now, the bad part of it is when they say AI is going to take all the jobs. Now, governments get their income from the people because they've earned money. Therefore, if they're not earning money, they're not paying tax. Now, so what we've got to do now is we need to flip it on its head, and the governments need to tax the companies that are using the AI so that they're still getting the income. But if you imagine now, with the autonomous robots and stuff that are coming, councils are going to have a workforce. Like they might employ 10,000 people in a council to do all the roadworks and all that, but now they can have 30,000, 40,000 robots for less of the cost. It's going to make what the Victorians did with infrastructure look like they were playing with Lego. So
I think
how far off do you think that is, Spud?
Genuinely, the autonomous vehicle. So FSD has just been approved. FSD unsupervised has just been approved in Holland. They then said it'll be a couple of months, and then they'll put it to the committee of the EU. That's now the 5th of May. Literally, this time next week, they are the Dutch have said this is really safe and should be incorporated across the whole of the EU. Now, obviously, here in UK, we're outside of the EU, even though we're still Europe. People keep forgetting that, but Elon Musk has now got SOP, so the cybercabs are rolling off of the production line. He's building the new Optimus factory in Texas. His plan is 6 billion robots. Now, Elon Musk, again, without making it the Musk show, he's Marmite, isn't he? You either love him or hate him. But he said he wants 6 billion robots on the planet. That's one per person.
That's unreal.
But he's a vertically integrated company. If you think what he's doing, he's created Starlink because he can now put that into every community on Earth. He's now doing Grok, which we think is going to become a agentic. If you put Grok into Starlink, now every community around the world has suddenly got an AI that it can talk to. I mean, he's going to put grok into the cars. So now you can just get in the car and the AI will be able to know if you're stressed, and it will say, oh, you look stressed. We're 6 miles from, do you want to go for a massage? And I'll book it in. I've checked your calendar. You've got half hour free. Do you want me to go pick the kids up? And then, yeah, so the cars will just, yeah, it's an interesting world. I just think in UK specific, we've got the Autonomous Vehicles Act. So we are doing stuff in the background, but are we in line to keep up with progress? Are we going to repeat? So if you go back to the vehicles, because the government stepped in and did the Red Flag Act, what that actually did is it stopped Britain being the forefront of motor vehicle manufacture. The French were having none of it. They were like, right, we're in, and they just told their population, we're building cars, and they became one of the biggest producers of cars. Germany did the same, and then some bloke called Henry Ford automated it all over in America. And what did UK do? Nothing. We then ended up with British Leyland. But if the government had been proactive at the start, we would have made all the motor vehicles. So sorry, Joe, I waffled on.
I think the way politics in the UK and to a certain degree, although we're very forward on the tech side, obviously here in Ireland, well, that's certainly having the tech companies in. Whether we make enough odds that is a different political question. But in the UK, I can see that happen again, because if you look at the government, the UK mindset, I think now is just going to go back to that red flag era. I just can't see it coming in. They're just stifling absolutely everything. I just don't see it personally. The point that you brought up about, you've got 30 minutes in your diary, I can book you in, I can do all this from you. I think a lot of people are genuinely scared that actually we'll lose that capability of being able to think and process for ourselves, and that will weaken that bit. How do we do all this, Susie and Spud, without losing our voice, without losing our individuality, our sense of being able to self-determine? I think that's probably one of the biggest questions I've had from people, to be honest.
I think it's an interesting thing, because like when you listen to what Spud was just saying, and it's when, especially over in our lifetimes, we've been through so many technological changes. We've been through such an evolution. When you think back in the 70s, late 70s, I think early 80s, I think it was Bill Gates that said, I want to see every house with a computer in it, and everyone went, are you mental? If you have a look at HP, you need a massive room to house just one computer, because the servers took up these huge rooms. They couldn't see what he could see. And within 20 years, every house has had a personal computer, and now we've all got them. We hold them in our hands, and the phones that we hold in our hands have got more power in them than those massive rooms that HP had back in the 70s, where you saw all the machines whirring away and all the rest of it. And so it's all an evolution as we go through. And I think that, yes, you have to embrace it. I believe you have to embrace it. Joe, you've heard me say you can't put toothpaste back in the tube. AI is here. It's here to stay. And you either go, oh, no, I'm not having any of that. I don't even want to know how to spell AI. I don't want to know about it. It's just, and normally it's through fear, and which obviously often comes through misunderstanding or not being able to see the opportunity. But I think that, yes, we should, especially as business owners, we should embrace AI. We should look at what we can replace in our business, or, repetitive tasks, things like that we can hand over to AI, which makes us more productive, which allows us to do the things in our business that are us. So we're not losing our voice. As Spud said before, relationships, that is the big one. If you don't have relationships in a business and you want to grow your business, then you're not going to get too far. I've always said networking is the best return on investment, or one of the best returns on investment you can do in your business, because you just don't know who you're going to connect with, and you just don't know what opportunity that's going to present to your business. Now, you can't network with AI. You just can't. You can't connect with other humans with AI, because you have to do that yourself. That allows you to keep your voice. That allows you to hang on to you in your business, because people don't want to come in and deal with with Charlie, my AI, they want to deal with me. They want to deal with Susie. They want to deal with Spud. They want to deal with Joe. So I think that understanding relationships and making that a priority, not just in business but in everyday life, making that a priority and not handing that part of things over to AI, I think is so important. And I think the ones that are the early adapters with this, or early adopters, I should say, with this, are going to be the ones that will be the most successful, because they will see the opportunity. They will redirect and go, you know what? Okay, well, I'm a copywriter, so that job may not be as in demand as it was. Look, I created people's content, and you can go and do all of that on AI. So I have to redirect a little bit. There's always going to be people out there that want someone to create content for them, but I have to learn how to do that faster. I have to learn how to do it more productively, and I have to learn to do it in a way that still has my final stamp of approval, so I'm not losing my voice in my business. So I would say that, relationships and connection are something that AI will never replace in someone's business, not authentically. I don't know. What do you think, Spud?
So the analogy we use, that I've always used, is that history has shown we've gone from analog to digital, but we haven't fully got rid of analog. To me, analog is still critical, because that's your relationships. That's the bit that you can't stop. You need the relationships, and as you've said, AI can't do that for you. So the work of human to human conversation, something I learned last year from an amazing sales guy, is critical to everything we do, and I think it still will be in this changing world. Joe, you were saying?
100%.
I think that's a great great point, because I think it's something like 62% of all small to medium businesses across Europe still are using transactional, traditional marketing methods, because they find that one of the things that we know now, that social media is a horrible, insidious place at times to be online, but it's a funnel to be able to connect people together. AI will therefore make things smarter, but we do need to keep abreast of that. So I think you're both right. We're never going to lose that the human instinct there. We've got a couple of messages coming in. Nick Gaffney, great to see you. Nick, sorry about your recent loss. What will humans do to survive when AI takes all the jobs? Spud's answered that one. Meta here in Ireland is already starting to lay off staff in favour of AI. And they'll do it, but people will adapt. They'll bring other people on. What we're going to do with the AI is we are going to be able to use it as a facilitator, as a support mechanism, within your team. So there will be other things, and listen. That cycle of change, Jesus, there was people who wanted to burn people when the printing press came out and stuff like that. We're not going to change this.
No.
I get really excited now, and I'm sort of, my brain's in bloody overtime as usual. So I need to take a step back. If I was an AI, I wouldn't be doing that. I'd just be like, very cool, very cold, very calm, very calculated. But that's the thing. One of the things we love about live streaming is it's real and it's passionate and it's human. It's not edited and it's not, all of those things. And
we forget what the hell we're going to talk about, like I did.
Yeah, I don't agree with you in front of me that you get me, and we're way off that. I'm like,
yeah.
I'll bring you back on.
And we need to keep that human touch. I think you're right, Spud. That sort of the digital and the analog thing, it's an extension now. We sort of overlapped. If anybody ever gets a chance, I've got an audio book series. It's actually on a tape. I don't have a tape player anymore, and it'll come back to me before the end of the show. But the book is called "Who Says Elephants Can't Dance," and it was the guy who took over. Come on, Susan. Who Says Elephants Can't Dance? And it was about the bloke who took over and revamped IBM computers. Louis
Gerstner.
Louis Gerstner, that's him. Who Says Elephants Can't Dance? If you get a book, then get Louis Gerstner's book. Who Says Elephants Can't Dance? Because he talks about how they went from the mainframe to the desk. And he really, for me, has changed the use of computers and technologies in organization, but he's also an organizational wizard. You know, we'd go to all of these events. It was back in the days when everybody, you know, wore power red ties, white shirts, dark suits, and all of that. You know, it was almost back to the old network marketing days of, yeah, we've all been there, lads. We've all done it. But that's how it was. And he used to dress down, and everybody would look at him like, you know, what's the boss doing? It's because you've got to break the psyche. We need to move on. We need to remember that people are there, and he wanted to get away from the mainframes because it was more business and it was simpler. But he wanted people at the desk. He wanted that to engage more. So all of those things that keep changing on. So Nick, I haven't forgot. I need to introduce you to Susie because you need to go and do her AI course that she's running in May. Oh, blimey, it's all going on. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to episode 3 of the Insight Exchange in conjunction with the world's leading award-winning live streaming company, Onestream Live. And this is episode 3 of AI Noise. And you can go to both Onestream Live and to the Insight Exchange on our YouTube channels, and you'll find the playlist there. Still to come will be Susie and Spud, more so because I'm trying to shut up because I'm getting too excited, talking about visibility and credibility and trust within AI, the human value inside of an AI world. And then we'll also be looking at the final reactions and closing. Keep it right here on the Insight Exchange. You see, that's what technology does to you. You build up and you build up, and then you press the button with a beautifully AI produced, you know, and it's like, I'm going to press. I'm just going to press a whole range of buttons, and nothing is now working on the right side of me. So, right. That's not working.
I'll tell you what, though. While you're trying to compose yourself there, Joe, the one thing that I do want to a point I wanted to make before was, you know, we were talking about there are things that I think are always going to be relevant, and the ones that realize that the most will be the ones that will thrive. And what I'm talking about is, number one, relationships. So we've already touched on that. You know, number 2, I think it was Gary V that said, you know, you don't want an AI to take your job, then become a plumber. So we're going to see, I think we're going to see an influx of, you know, I know our boy Coops, he's going to do a plumbing apprenticeship. You know, so you're not going to get AI. We're a long way off robots being able to do what a plumber does, an electrician does, things like that. I know they'll come in, but I still think that there's going to be a lot of people out there who, if you've got a clogged loo, you don't want a robot coming in your house, right? You want the local plumber from down the road coming into your house and fixing that for you. So I think that the need, I'm not saying robots won't be able to do it. I think that people will still kick against something like that, having that in their house to come and fix something. You know, it'll be interesting as the generations come through. But there's always things that no matter what technology has come in, no matter what changes have come in, no matter what we've had, there's still things that stay true. And when you look at things like the book, you know, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, it's still one of the largest selling books today. He wrote that when Adam was playing Left Fall Back for Jerusalem. It's been around forever, and people are still buying and reading it and applying it today. And, you know, seven Habits of Highly Effective People. You know, these are things that people are always going to want to do. And I think the sooner that we embrace that into what we're doing in our businesses. I love AI. I use AI every day, all day. I love discovering the new platforms. I love discovering what it can do. I love pushing it and seeing what else it can do. I love building things with it. I love everything about it. But I still don't believe that, you know, in the near future, as long as, you know, our generation is around, that it will replace us as the relationship, as our ability to talk to people. As you said before, Spud, you know, the sales process. You know, I learned years ago the road to the sale. That was what I was taught when, you know, I was a little whippersnapper, and I always say I came into the world trying to sell the doctor a watch. You know, I love selling, and I think you have to do that on a human level, because I don't think that to be highly successful, I don't think you can allow AI to do things like that. AI can sell you can have an AI salesperson in, in your chat bot and all that sort of stuff. But I think to be highly successful, I think that you have to make sure that you always embrace the human in you, the relationship maker in you, the connection in you, and have that run alongside AI. I know that's just me. That's just my thoughts on that.
A quick one on that. Welcome to somebody who's watching us on our LinkedIn channel, on my profile there. Wayne St. Ledger. Wayne, I hope you're well, mate. Yeah, got your message on WhatsApp. My bad for not getting back to you. I'll chat to you this week. Wayne says, I think so many business owners are still using AI to try to replace what they do in their business. Spud, how do you change the mindset then of people trying to use AI solely to replace everything they're doing in the business and find it and use it as a support mechanism without replacing the human elements of what Susie's talking about?
Susie mentioned successful business. So to be successful in business, I believe the one key thing that can bring it all crashing down is reputation. So you can take 30 years to build reputation up. You can do one thing on a cold wet Monday morning, and it can just ruin your reputation. So that's about you using the tools, because it's AI is a tool, or using it as a team member to help build your business. But ultimately, credibility, trust, visibility, they're all the analog things that you as the business owner need to do. Okay, use the tools, but it's you that's checking the documents. It's you it's the details that matter. I want to go back to play devil's advocate. Sorry, to roll it back about the robots. Now, when they introduced the iPhone, everyone who had a BlackBerry says, "Well, I'm not having an iPhone because I want my keypad." And what you said there, Susie, about that no one's going to want a robot in their house to put their hand down the toilet, and I think that's the type of thinking that people are at the moment. But Elon Musk doesn't care about that. The future doesn't care about that. I think what will happen is the Optimus robot, which has got your AI built into it. So the AI that's in your car is the same as the one that's in your robot. If that's the route you go down. You imagine you buy this robot out the box and you say to it, I want you to put your hand down and clear my toilet. It won't know how to do it. So you need to train it. But not necessarily you train it. When he's put 1 million robots into 1 million houses, when one person has shown that robot how to put its hand down the toilet, you press a button and suddenly all 1 million know how to put their hand down the toilet and clear it. And I think, yes, sci-fi, science fiction and all that, we don't want robots in the house, but we've got them already.
We've got them already.
I think it'll be a very short period once they're out, that it'll be second nature. You'll have it in the house. You'll be using it to take the dog a walk, and I know that's just crazy, but there will be people that will have their robots taking their dogs for a walk.
It's interesting, and that's why I sort of said, with our generation and all, the Gen Xers and the baby boomers, I think but it'll be interesting as the younger generation come through, because it's just normal to them, but even as far as we got friends of ours, those little, those Roombas that go around and vacuum your house, right? They've got one for the lawn. He's got, instead of having a lawnmower, he's got this thing that goes out and mows the lawn. Troy was absolutely horrified. He's like, oh my God, did he hand over his man card? Like, you can't, mowing the lawn is just a guy thing. You know what I mean? Like, he comes home and he mows his lawn, and here's this little robot going out, and he goes out and opens the gate for it, because he's got to go from the front yard to the backyard.
I just want to know, this is not scripted and we did not rehearse this, but me and Joe had a conversation this morning. I'm currently sat in my hotel. Okay, and it's got an acre of land out there and grass, and trying to get anyone in to cut the grass is proving more difficult than I thought. The guy suddenly said, I'll turn up at 10 o'clock this morning. I said, you can't. He's actually out there now cutting the grass, and I hope you can't hear it. But this morning I was Googling robotic lawn and how to set it up, and I've already worked out exactly how to put the GPS coordinates in. if you go on my Facebook feed, there's a mate of mine, Stuart. He posted a video this morning. He's just got one and says it's a game changer. So it's funny how literally my next purchase is going to be a robotic grass
quite these little tiny sort of square boxes, and they just go across your lawn, and they're quite it's quite a big thing over here. I think one of the problems is we've seen TV programs like Black Mirror, Humans, Westworld, all those type of things, where there's the dark side. So what we talked about in episode 1 about we can't change where the 6, 7, whatever is global corporations who control everything in the world, including all the parliaments and everything like that, because that's the harsh reality of it. Nothing different. If we go back in time, it's nothing different from the great British East India Company, who did exactly the same. Control, manipulation, monetization, weaponization, sexualization, all of those things happened back then, happening now, they'll happen in the future. We can't do anything about that, but we can use it for a force of good. But we've seen these type of programs, Humans on the telly, and Black Mirror, like I say, and Westworld, which I found one of the most weirdest things in the world. To be honest, it was just like, now that's just a stage beyond my 2 brain cells, So I've got Porrig and Siobhan fighting for control, which makes me, will you shut up? I've told you before. I'll tell you what you need to believe. No, stop it, will you? We're on live on the show. Just leave me alone for a second. Oh, you. And that's what's going on. So Westworld and things like that were just a stage too far for me and my 2 brain cells going on. But seriously, I think that's all people have experienced, in all seriousness. And we're put off by things like that. So I think that everyday use of the stuff that we're doing, it comes back down again to the individual using it. There are a lot of Spud, there will be an awful lot of people who are scared that those 1 million robots who have learned through one of putting their hand down a loo, they can all now do it, that they're all interconnected, and if they want to rise up, they will. That's what the sort of thing that people will be scared about. Autonomous driving, they'll be worried about the fact that actually is a safer, but the stats have proved it safer. And I think there's some of the things, it's the mindset we have to get over. Otherwise, you're right. You're back into the Luddites and you're back into the red flag scenario, and we can't change it. All we can do as individuals, it's the same like politics. You can't change things in the world, but you can do something locally.
Yeah, I think it comes also... Sorry, Spud, you go.
Sorry. No, I was just saying you've got to engage with the change. It's about engaging with it and working with it rather than fighting it. Do it on your terms, because ultimately it's your voice, your credibility. It's you that people will trust. So
100%. And and I think we really have to, as you said, engage with it. We've got to not just embrace it. We have to try and open our minds enough to say, okay, what opportunity is here for me? Because every major change, as we've gone along in history, there's been those people, again, the early adopters that have said, what opportunity is in this for me? How can I utilize this, that I can do this before anyone else? What can I do with it that is going to make such a difference in my life and help other people? Because I think as business owners, a lot of times, especially if we do offer different services and things like that, we do want to help people. We genuinely want to help people. And, I know with all of my clients, I love helping them. I love seeing their businesses grow. I love seeing them, embrace the things that I'm teaching them. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I get a real kick out of it. And I think as humans, one of our basic needs as humans is connection to start with. So I think that is something that will always remain with us. And I think those people who are the early, the get in there early, that wanted, I think, like Elon Musk, I mean, look, say what you want about the guy, but he's changing the world. Mark Zuckerberg is changing the world. Now, there's going to be some people that say he's changing it for good. Others say he's changing it for bad, whatever. But he's changing the world. He's changing how we live. Bill Gates changed how we live. Steve Jobs changed how we live. Elon Musk is doing it now. And these men who can have this foresight into where we're going, I think people like that are the ones that have to, or that I think you hope will still reiterate in people, we still have to be part of a community. We still have to be part of the human race. You can't just lock yourself away and, sit and talking to your AI all day. And I know there are people that will do that, but they have to be the front runners to go, listen, these tools are fantastic. They're amazing, but we have to incorporate into this, whether it's a charity, whether it's a community. For some people, it's church. For other people, it's, the local dog club, the local bird watching club, whatever that is. I think they have to remind us to embrace those things, so that will be the key to us not losing our humanity as AI moves further and further into our lives.
So that nicely brings me on to what I'm trying to achieve later on in life, is that the autonomous vehicles are coming. We already know it. We see them. There's a guy who films above the Gigafactory in Texas every single day, and they literally count the cars coming out, and they're nice shiny gold now. The matte gold was the test vehicles, and the shiny gold are the new ones. So they're coming. Now, Elon Musk is still not quite rolling it out, because again, it comes down to the reputation. The moment they get that first bad accident, that's when it could kill their reputation.
Yeah.
So it is an engineered, but eventually they're going to come. So the big top players, and again, I use UK as the analogy, 67 million people in the United Kingdom. The top 20 players, the Ubers and the likes, they're going to concentrate on the top 20 cities, which happens to be 20 million people, but only covers 3% of the landmass of UK. So what about the other 97%, sorry, my maths. What about the other 97% in the rural communities that are going to get left behind? And that's the problem. We'll end up, again, instead of a north-south divide in UK, we're going to end up with another divide where those who have and those who have not. So I've identified this. Every autonomous vehicle is a brand new technology to charge it. It's not available yet. It's a wireless pad charger. But to put all those chargers in, there are currently 300,000 taxis in UK. So let's just flip it and say that every single one's going to be replaced with an autonomous vehicle. It'll be 500,000 within 5 years.
Yeah.
There you go. I've said it on record. But let's say there's one charger for every 2 vehicles. So there's 150,000 chargers. They're all going to charge up at midnight. That's 4 gig, and they're 25 kilowatt chargers, 180,000 chargers. So that's 4 gigawatts of power. Okay. Wow. Hinkley Point, which is 4 miles to my left here, that's two nuclear reactors at full power will only kick out 3.6 gigawatt. Okay, which is 7% of the UK's power. Yet you suddenly plug all these taxis in at 12 o'clock on a cheap tariff, and it's going to, see what I mean? It's so who's focusing on putting this infrastructure into every single community? And that's what we're building now. Listen, people have said it's unachievable and unrealistic, so we're just going to go and do it because no one else is, right? So it's 10,000 communities in UK. That's 10,000 village halls or community halls. Imagine if we put 2 chargers in every single village hall, every community.
Yeah.
That way, these taxis then, when they come, or I call it RoboCab, and I have trademarked it. I'll get it out there now. Sorry. So it's Robo Taxi Cybercab. I just took the first word and the last word and put them together. Check the IPO. Nothing on there, so I've trademarked it. But what if we put the infrastructure in? So it's not about operating the vehicles themselves. It's putting the infrastructure in to make sure that everyone in the community has got the option to use this technology. So therefore, we put. People keep saying, "Oh, you're doing it for the money," and well, no, I'm doing it for community. Everything we do in our properties for community. Okay, yes, we're using the contractors building a nuclear power station to fund and give us the equity. But ultimately, that power station and the largest construction site in Europe will shut down. We'll still have the properties, and then we just offer them back to the community in which we live. I only buy properties in the community that I actually live in. So it's about my little legacy and about giving back. And sometimes people always think the worst. They think you've got ulterior motives. Yes, we need to earn money. Yes, that's why we're all in business.
That's right.
We don't take that focus, never take that focus away. Cash flow is king, as they say. But yeah, I want to do something that, yes, it will tap into a 40 billion pound uncapped market, but ultimately I want to make sure that every single person in every community has access to this new technology, because it will change their lives. You imagine
Now,
every single. Sorry, Susie, go.
no. Sorry, I was just going to say. Now that is so interesting, because it's something that I think about a fair bit, especially here in Australia. Now, Australia is such a big country, right? You know, you can drive for a day and not see a single person. I know, because I've done it. You know, I've driven from here to Western Australia, and you know, it's massive. It takes a good week, and you know, when we say just down the road, that could be 2 hours down the road. Yeah, it's just down the road, mate. You'll be right. You know, so it's very different here than it is in the UK. And they're coming up, you know, they're saying to all these people, oh, you got to, you know, get these electric vehicles. And at the moment, and I understand this will evolve, but at the moment, I think here in Australia, the electric vehicles have 2 or 3 hours of power, right? If they're fully powered, you can drive them for 2 or 3 hours. Now, in Australia, that is as useful as a chocolate teapot, because if I want to drive to Sydney, which is nearly a 10, 11-hour drive, how am I going to do that? Because we don't have the infrastructure here to be able to just pull up most places, plug the car in, recharge it, you know, because that's going to take however long it takes, 2 hours, to keep going for another 3 hours, because by the time you get another 3 hours, you're in little towns along the coast on the way down to Sydney or Melbourne or wherever it is. God forbid, should you want to go bush, go inland or go over, you'd never go over the Nullarbor. And they're talking about, you know, wanting to bring in electric trucks and electric. So how are we going to sustain these ideas in AI? Because it's all AI, but how are we going to sustain this in countries like Australia that are going to be what's the word I'm looking for? So that it's convenient enough for people to go, you know what, yeah, I will consider an electric car. Because for me at the moment, an electric car, I would not get an electric car if you actually gave it to me and handed me the keys. I'd be going, mate, keep it. Because over here, it's no good to us in the travel that we do. Even if we just go up to Troy's hometown of Stanthorpe, that's over 3 hours. Now, there's nowhere I think there's one place along the way where you can stop and charge an electric vehicle. And that means you've got to sit there for an hour or 2 hours while it's charging. So that adds that onto a 3-hour trip. So how does that become
to playing devil's advocate again?
Most people.
The technology's there. The technology's there that you don't need to spend an hour sitting in your car. You can literally charge in 10 minutes. Okay. But it's about investing in the infrastructure. It's about governments making decisions to say this is the way we're going to go. So at the moment, you can drive a car all the way across. And again, to give you some context, I have rode a motorbike from Cairn all the way to Broome, stood up across the Savannah Way. Okay, it took me 3 weeks. Why did I ride it stood up? Because I rode for people that couldn't stand up. Anyhow, so that's I did that 10 years ago, and I am hoping to come back in the next couple of years and do it again. Because the first time I did it, I was so engrossed in my business, I didn't look up. I didn't look at Australia.
You didn't enjoy it.
That's a story for another day. But for you to drive in Australia at the moment, you need to go to a gas station. A gas station's got petrol or diesel, but every gas station's also got an electrical supply. It must have, otherwise you can't get the fuel out of the tank into the car. So you've got
they've got they've obviously got electricity, but they don't have the infrastructure for you to pull up in an electric car and go, well, my car needs charging because the battery's down.
And I need to reframe the issue now. There is equipment out there that you can put. It literally comes on the back of a low loader, and you drop it in, and you just hook it up to your electrical supply. Well, the issue is that electrical supply has to be man enough to give it enough power. But you can plug your car in now. So here in UK, we've got 450 kilowatt, don't quote me on the actual figures, but 450 kilowatt chargers that will charge your car in 15 minutes. They're rolling them out in China. They literally, you pull in, you hook up, you go in and pay and get your groceries like you do in UK at a service station. By the time you've come out, your car's fully charged or there's enough charge. It's about adapting your driving as well.
It is. But Here's the devil's advocate, and that's because Porrig is saying to Siobhan in my head, "Will you stop it, both of you?" Jesus Christ! Devil's advocate. What has the UK government done? It's fucked people over because they're encouraging everybody to buy electric cars, and then they've done this. What is it? 44 pence a mile additional. They're going to charge people. So that's blown it out the market. Any opportunity? They've just done a red flag moment for me, brother.
They have, but this comes back to the conversation we had 20 minutes ago about tax generating tax and revenue. So therefore, you say, oh, if you buy this new product, we won't charge you tax for it. So everyone went and bought it, and then suddenly the tax revenue drops. So it's going to take time, but there'll be a point. So I've got grandkids 10 and 8. They'll never sit a driving test. Okay. They'll think sitting a driving test is as alien as when my granddad said to me he could shoe a horse. Because I looked at him going, "What? Why would you put shoes on a horse?"
Shoes on a horse.
Yeah, but his generation, he'd grown up just during the war, as before the war, where he only got from A to B on a horse. He didn't own a car.
That's right.
So he learned how to shoe it. And then when he said to me, "Oh, I can shoe a horse," why would you want to put shoes on a horse?
It would be an interesting question nowadays to see how many youngsters understand where the expression horsepower for a car comes from.
Well, exactly. They
would never clue.
Yeah.
But we got a question.
The technology for electric cars is already there. All right. It just needs investment, and that's the bit you need to spend to save, if that makes sense.
And this is the part, as far as governments go, is, here in Australia, they're literally only in the last, 10 years, upgraded all of our internet from the copper, from the copper stuff to the optic fibers. So, they've got better internet in the caves in bloody Afghanistan than we've got here in Australia. It's a joke. And,
but again,
so
Musk
how
has
are we
changed
gonna...
all that, because Starlink now, I'm in rural Somerset, and we got Starlink. Because waiting for the government to cable in the fiber that they've promised us for the last 10 years just hasn't arrived, because it all comes down to cost, and no one was prepared to pay for it. So Elon Musk is now just so landlines will be gone in literally but we already lost the phone in every house.
We don't have a landline. We don't bother. We just got rid of it in the last iteration. I got a question here from Nick Gaffney, which I can't put up on the screen at the moment. So if we engage and work with tech, we can control it.
No. So Musk will bring an app out called X, and it will. So he's doing finance. So you'll do all your finance through this one app. It will control your car. So you do all your controlling of your car through this one app. It will control your Grok, because it's Grok talking to you. At the moment, we are still, I still am, I'm still guilty of it. I type the message, because as I'm trying to talk to it, I've got distractions and it picks up the wrong words. But they designed this to be voice only, which is why Musk is, so anyone who thinks Tesla's a car company, by the way, it's not. It's the biggest AI company in the world, and it's the only one making profit. Because ultimately, he's going to put Grok in the cars. He's already getting there. But once Grok is in there, and the new AI5 chip is in there, you can only talk to it, because you can't sit and type as you're driving, even though the car's doing the driving. And that's where the S-curve will just exponentially will just go through the roof. Once you start using these tools, just talking to them, Whisperflow is amazing. I'm only just starting to use it. But AI is changing so quick. I mean, I went to my first AI course a month ago, and I was all ChatGPT, and then everyone was telling me Claude, and I've just come onto Claude, and I've just started getting good with it. And then literally on Saturday, it was like, Claude's dead. You need to go back to chat, because it's now called Spud, which is But
it's amazing. It's amazing in the fact that, I do my ChatGPT Advantage course, and it is specifically for Gen Xers and baby boomers, because, we just talk a different language completely. But every time I've done the course, because I think this is my 4th or 5th round of doing it, I've got to completely change. I couldn't record that course and then evergreen it.
No.
Because in 2 months it would be obsolete.
Yeah.
So every time I do the course, I have to completely change everything in the course. Now I'm supposed to be doing another course in May, and there's been that many changes come through in the last couple of months. And I'm not talking about staying ahead of every single change that comes through with AI, because I think you do your head in. It's too overwhelming. And I think you get to a point where you think, oh God, I don't even want to look at a computer, or I just want to go bush. I want to sit out in the middle of nowhere, you know, in the swag with a fire, and that's me done, right? You know, and and I do actually quite often dream about using my laptop as a frisbee, but you know, I try not to do that. It's very expensive, but you know, it does become very, very overwhelming. And even for the younger generation, who this is a second nature thing for, it's still moving at such a fast pace that everyone's saying this is the best, this is the best, this is the best, this is the best. And we spoke about this, Joe, last week. You know, you need to find, you know, maybe 2 platforms that will do what you need it to do.
Yeah.
You have to look at what you need first and then find the platforms that will do that, and it helps with that overwhelm. But I have to rethink as to whether or not I'm going to be ready to do the course in May, because even just the basic things that are happening in AI are changing so quickly that I have to make sure that if I am going to do it in May, I have to, number one, be ready and understand all those changes. And are they going to change again between now and, you know, 3/4 of the way through May? And it's moving at such a massively fast pace that it's, where do you draw the line and say, you know, okay, I've got to stop going down these, you know, the rabbit holes that we love so much, Joe. You know, we love going down those rabbit holes, and we'll be down them for days and days. But I think for our own sanity, where do we draw the line as far as the things that are coming in, the things that are available? Like you said, Spud, you know, that technology for the electric cars is available. But here in Australia, everyone's going, mate, these electric cars are, like I said, as useful as chocolate teapots, because I can't get further than 2 hours or 3 hours away, because then I've got to sit for, you know, 3 hours to bloody charge the bastard of a thing, you know. And we just don't have the patience for that. We're just used to getting in our car. I'm like you, I'm a petrol head. I'm quite happy to stop, fill up my car, you know, get on the back of a motorbike and just go. I don't want to have to stop every 2 hours and charge that thing, because that would do my head in. So how are we going to implement these changes, and how are we going to get the governments to implement these changes on a massive scale in countries like Australia? Is it going to be up to the government, or is it literally going to be guys like Elon Musk that go, you know what, the government's irrelevant for this stuff, just do it yourself? Where do we draw that line?
He wouldn't produce a production line of how these things are going to come off if he hasn't worked out how he's going to power them up. And this is if you follow Musk closely, even in America, they've had the approval to use this wireless technology, because the wireless stuff it uses is normally only allowed in handheld devices. These are going to be fixed in the floor. So he's managed to get a dispensation for that. So there are people thinking that he's going to roll out and then own the charging network, and he'll be the only one, because it's proprietary. He's the only one that will be able to then control that. Well, that's a massive undertaking, but nothing surprises me at the moment with Musk.
No,
that said, I'm a petrol head. I've got a V8 Range Rover sitting outside, but we ordered our first electric car last night, so ordered a Tesla to be here.
Oh my god!
So, because you've got to adapt and you've got to move on. But I'm not telling my peer group yet. So until this goes out, I'll know who's watched this, because they'll tell me.
And on that massive revelation, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming towards the end of part 3 of our 3-part series, AI Noise. It's been really good today so far to go through all of that. But we are very much over the witching hour, but we could sit here for hours. I think what this this final episode has really brought us back to is the whole point the important point of the overall series. AI matters. It is changing how people create, plan, organize, and communicate, definitely. But the deeper question has never just been about what AI can do. It is about what we do with it and how we use it without losing the things that make people trust us in the first place. What keeps you. Tonight we've talked about the voice, judgment, trust, credibility, lived experience is probably the biggest takeaway for me, on how we do anything in life. And what still matters most in a world where more and more content is being generated quickly and automatically. So the clearest takeaway is this: AI can absolutely help, but it should not ever replace judgment. It should not ever replace authenticity. It should not ever replace the human perspective that gives work its meaning and trust. That, for me, is where the balance sits. Not rejecting the tools, not worshipping the tools, not chasing the emperor's new clothes on the next tool, but using them wisely, knowing that, what should never be handed over fully and completely. And that really is where the whole AI noise series has been heading. In episode 1, we slowed the noise down and explained more about it. In episode 2, we looked at where AI can actually help and the practical applications. And tonight we've brought it back, hopefully, to the human center, because in the end, that is really genuinely what matters most. Not just whether you use AI, but whether you whether you can make it still sound like you, whether people can still trust you, and whether the work still carries your judgment, your standards, and your humanity. Susie Manley, final thoughts from you as ever as our AI queen.
I'm going to sort of dogleg it a little bit here and sort of take a quick turn in the fact that we've been talking a lot about AI. As Joe said, the 3 series, the 3 episodes we did in this series, I've loved because I love AI. It is my crack. I do get very addicted to it, and I do go down those rabbit holes. But I think for me, and we've spoken about, what we need to make sure that we stay embraced to stay us. I think the thing that I'm going to leave you guys with tonight is this. In a world with AI and with, technology and electric cars and all these things that are coming in, I think one of the most important things that we can do for ourselves is this. Grab your kids and take them outside. Kick a ball with them. Show them how to start a fire. Show them how to swim in the pool. Show them how to ride their bike. Throw a pair of skates on their feet. Stick them on a skateboard. Stick them on a surfboard. Take them outside. Take the phone away. Take the iPad, the Xbox, the PlayStation, the whatever it is that is technology. If it has a battery for a certain period of time every day or every week, take it away. Grab your kids and take them outside. Spend time with them. Show them that there are things outside of AI, technology, phones, games, Take them back to going and visiting grandma and granddad and having Sunday lunch with them. Going and reading a book. Remember those things? Books. They have pages with pictures and everything. They're amazing things. Technology is wonderful. But don't forget that part of our lives. There you go, right? There's nothing like getting lost in a book. And I think, unfortunately, the kids today are losing that knowledge, or that they don't have that experience of getting lost in a book because we're giving them a phone. We're putting, women in the grocery stores with kids in the prams and they've got an iPad in front of them. For goodness sakes, talk to your child, connect with your child. I think we're losing that. So I love AI. I think this episode tonight has just been fantastic. I've enjoyed every minute of it, and the different perspectives and the things that Spud shared with us, I think, have just excite me so much. I think it's amazing. But we have to remember, guys, connect with the younger generation. Otherwise, they're going to lose those experiences. And then in turn, I think the ripple effect of that is that we will start losing our humanity. That's what I'd like to leave you with tonight.
Cool. Thanks for that. And Spud, final thoughts from a real world user perspective before we close, mate.
Just 8 words. Use the tools. Keep your standards. Stay accountable.
Excellent.
Nice.
Spud, thanks so much for joining us and bringing real life.
Thank you for having me. It's I've Apologies, I might have waffled on. I was really scared
No,
before
that
I
was
started.
no, that was
What was I gonna
fantastic.
say?
Loved it.
That's the power of live streaming, my friend. Some technology things stop working when you need them to work. We go off at tangents. You know, you can't edit that successfully from a podcast. That's why we do a live stream and then turn into a podcast, because we don't want it to be vanilla. We don't want it to be perfect. We want it to be live. So thanks to everybody who's joined us across the 3-part series. Go to the Insight Exchange on YouTube, and there's a playlist there with all 3 parts on it. Follow us across the social channels.
Remember
as well.
to subscribe.
And subscribe, yeah, because we've got more stuff coming up. I'll tell you about that just a second. And this will go out again tonight at 5 p.m. Ireland and UK Eastern, which is midday Eastern Time USA, to cover the Onestream live market over there as well, which is massive. And thank you to the team at Onestream Live for helping us with get this 3-part series out. So that'll go out again tonight. I'm Joe Shepard. This has been AI Noise with the Insight Exchange with Susie Manley and today's guest, Spud Barrett. Before we go, please head over to that YouTube and channel and subscribe. At the bottom there is a link to an AI Noise article on our site. In fact, I'm going to do this because you know why? Because I can. Let me just pull this up. Where are my knowledge hub? There we go. So now I need to come back. Great when there's loads of screens and buttons and things on, isn't there? So there we have it. So that is the insight.exchange. That's the site that we're actually building at the moment. We use that just to supplement what we're doing. But when you go, you can actually go to the home page there, and you can watch us live, and you can see all of the previous shows and everything that's on there. And there's a knowledge hub button there with all the blog articles, and you'll see the 2. How digital engagement builds real business visibility. That's all based on this 3-part series. And AI Noise, the one next to it, how to make sense of high pressure promise artificial intelligence. Both of those are designed for both the wider AI 3-part series and also looking at from a live streaming and a content creator's perspective. That's us. Next month, we start a brand new May and June. We've got a brand new twice a month series, myself and Susie. And that is May and June. Suze, what are we looking at in May and June? Tell them.
So in May, we're going to be talking about communities. I think we're still talking about that, aren't we? I'm glad I got that right. We're going to be talking about communities because, again, like we've just spoken about, it's so important to be part of these and connect with other people. But we're also going to be covering, which I'm so excited about, is nostalgia. Guys, we love nostalgia. I mean, don't start us talking about, shows from when we were kids. We all know them, the different movies that were out when we were younger, your first car, where you used to go roller skating, where, the nostalgia is such an amazing thing. It's such a feel-good thing. And so we're going to do a lot of things around nostalgia. We're going to be running polls, and we're going to be running some competitions, and we're going to be running a bit of trivia here and there. So we're going to have a lot of fun over the next couple of months, and I hope that you'll join us. And as I said before, so make sure you subscribe, because if you subscribe to our channel, then you get a little notification, a little bell that goes bing, and let you know when we're going live. So we would love you to come and join us and be a part of the next couple of months that is all about community and nostalgia, and I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. So until then, remember, with AI, use the tools, keep the voice, keep the standards, and stay human in the process. And as they say, for those nostalgic people, it's a good night from him, it's a good night from her,
and it's a good night from me.
Freely available AI will make you look like an expert until it gets you fired from a deal. The problem is not using AI. The problem is trusting it like it has skin in the game. It does not, but you do. I use AI every single day in property acquisitions, transaction summaries, financial projections, legal research. It cut days of work down to hours, but here is what it has never done. It has never sat across from a seller and read whether they actually want to transact. It has never convinced a lender to accept a structure after 6 months of back and forth. It has never signed a personal guarantee. AI prepares you. It does not represent you. Everything that goes out has been read by me in full every time, no exceptions. AI is the best junior I have ever worked with. It is also the most confident liar I have ever worked with. Treat it accordingly. Use the tools and raise the floor, but your standards raise the ceiling. AI changed how I work. It has not changed who has to sign at the bottom of the page.